The Cleveland Cavaliers have shocked everyone and have jumped out to the number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference despite 4 key rotation pieces missing more than 10 games. It's been crazy what the depth for this Cavaliers team has been able to accomplish this year because the 4-man squad of Max Strus, Georges Niang, Sam Merrill, all of them really, the entire bench has been phenomenal because they were 14-4 without Darius Garland and Evan Mobley for an 18-game stretch. That is crazy. They are 15th in points per game, 16th in offensive rating, so the offense is not great. But second in defensive rating and opponents' points per game, and 4th in the net rating. Overall, this is a really good squad. They have the best depth in the league, as I just mentioned. They have 6 guys scoring 12 or more points per game. They have 9 guys averaging 8 or more points per game, and as you can see by their number 2 defensive rating and number 2 offensive or opponent points per game, all of them play defense. Now, when you talk about the Cleveland Cavaliers, everything starts off with Donovan Mitchell. Quietly, he has been an MVP candidate, leading the second best team in the East and averaging 28.4 points per game, 6.3 rebounds, 5.4 assists per game, and also playing defense, averaging about 2 steals per game. He has been really, really solid as a Cleveland Cavalier for the past, 2 years. Led them to the 5 seed last year, and now they're at the 2 seed. 47% shooting from the field, 36% from 3 on 9 attempts per game in 36 minutes. Now, his long-term situation remains uncertain because some GMs seem to believe that he will be gone after this contract is up, but Donovan Mitchell right now has been playing really good basketball, and that's what we need to focus on. Don't focus on the long term, focus on right now, and right now he's playing dang good basketball. Now, the other guys, the 2 guys that have been injured with Darius Garland and Jarrett Allen. Garland is averaging about 18 points per game, 6 assists, 2.3 rebounds, and 1.4 steals. Not a bad stat line. I mean, not good compared to his last couple of years. We want to see progression, but he has had to take a step back with the Cavs getting deeper. 47% from the field, 33% from 3 on 5 attempts in 32 minutes a game. But he has not been as good as he was before his injury since his return, where he's only averaged 13 points and 6 assists in the 6 or so games that he's been back, about 26 minutes a game for him in those games. Pre-injury, he was pretty good. 21 points a game, 6 assists, 1.6 steals, and shot at 47% from the field. So hopefully we see Garland get back to his pre-injury form. You don't like seeing injuries derail players' seasons. So hopefully he can get back to that. And then you have Evan Mobley, the best defender on this team per 100 possessions. He's averaging 15.8 points per game, 10.2 rebounds, 2.8 assists in 31 minutes a night. Now, the offensive game hasn't really taken a step forward really since his rookie year, but he's gotten better and better on defense. He hasn't had to take a step forward because of all the guys around him. Him and Jarrett Allen really hold down the paint on defense, and alongside of their stars, this Cavs team, as we mentioned earlier, has some great depth. So let's go over that first with Craig Porter Jr., who probably has one of the better stories in the NBA right now, was an undrafted free agent after leading his Wichita State team in every statistical category. He went from a UDFA to a starter for this Cleveland Cavaliers team and really picked up the slack. He got his contract converted to a 4-year contract from his 2-way deal. He averaged about 6.5 points, about 3 rebounds, 2.5 assists in 15 minutes per game. So overall, Craig Porter Jr. has had a heck of a year, heck of a comeback story. 51% shooting from the field, 33% from 3 in 32 games for the 23-year-old. And, if injuries continue to hit this Cavs team, he can be a really reliable backup point guard. They also have Max Strus, who has been a starter, so he's not really depth, but he's kind of picked up the slack with Garland and Mobley being out. He's averaging 12.2 points, 5 rebounds, 3.7 assists. Of course, coming over from the Miami Heat in the offseason. Now, the efficiency has not been there. 41% shooting from the field, 34% from 3 on 7 attempts. Not fantastic, playing about 32 minutes a game. So he's not been very efficient this year, but in the past he has been efficient. So hopefully, the second half of the year, post-All-Star break, he can really start to pick it up. And then you got Georges Niang, who the minivan coming over from the Philadelphia 76ers in the offseason, averaging about 9 points. Strus and Georges Niang were great depth adds this offseason. Doesn't get talked about enough. 3.6 rebounds, 1.2 assists in 22 minutes for the minivan. 43% from the field, 35% from 3 on 5 attempts for the 30-year-old. So again, both of those guys being really, really good value contracts. They also have Sam Merrill, who has really turned into a three-point sniper for them. He's averaging about 8 points, 1.8 rebounds, and 1.5 assists off the bench in 16 minutes. So between those four guys, I mean, it's tough for teams to be able to run with this Cavs squad because they got so many guys. Merrill is shooting at 44% from 3 on 5 attempts. Still 27 years old, so he's going to be a nice bench piece for a good while. The Cavs have done a great job of finding diamonds in the rough. Before we continue on here, if you have made it this far into the video, make sure to like button and hit that subscribe button because obviously you are enjoying the content. Also, leave me a comment down below as it really puts out on the YouTube algorithm. We're trying to hit about 100 likes on today's video, so if we could do that, that'd be great. Now let's continue on here looking at 6 guys averaging more than 12 points per game. We already talked about 4 of them. The other 2 that we have yet to talk about, Caris LeVert and Jarrett Allen. We'll start off with Jarrett Allen, who is averaging almost 16 points per game this year, which is pretty solid for him. 10.8 rebounds, 2.8 assists. Kind of, the same seasons he's been having in his career, but he's just a solid defender. He's kind of reached his peak, I feel like, but he's just solid. Year after year, he is just solid. 65% shooting from the field on 10 attempts, 1.2 blocks, and a steal. But between him and Evan Mobley, they make this Cavs team have that number 1 defensive rating. He is number 2 in defensive rating per 100 possessions, but it is only about 1 point to Evan Mobley. And like I said, I mean, these two in the paint, Jarrett is camping out in the paint, and you also have Evan Mobley roaming around on the perimeter on the defensive side of the ball. Because of, his kind of like what we're seeing with the Minnesota Timberwolves right now. Actually, very similar to what we're seeing with them with Rudy Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns. And that's kind of the new way it's starting to look like, is having 2 7-footers on the court, but one that can play along on the perimeter. And then, the Timberwolves have the number 1 defense. The Cavs have the number 2 defense. Caris LeVert's averaging about 14.5 points per game, 4.5 rebounds, or 4.5 assists, about 3.6 rebounds, 43% shooting from the field, 34% from 3, 5 attempts in 27 minutes per game for him. Now, looking at last year, he was much more efficient, which somewhat concerning that he was, he kind of took a year off in the efficiency category, but, well, same field goal percentage, but 5 points down in his 3-point percentage. That's not good. But anyways, looking at the outlook here for this Cavs team, as they've got a few tough ones coming up, Philadelphia, Dallas, New York, Boston, but they do have some easier games sprinkled in there. Orlando's not bad. I think they've won 8 of their last 10, but you got Washington, Chicago, Detroit, so those should be easy ones sprinkled in there. But as the number 2 seed out east, you got to find a way to win some of these games. If you can beat Boston at home, that'd be huge. Beating New York would be big as they're the 4 seed. So yeah, we'll see what happens. This Cavs team, I mean, they have blown me away, but it's just because of how good they were this offseason with making those depth signings. If you did enjoy today's video at any point, make sure to like button and hit the subscribe button. It'll really help us out in the YouTube algorithm. And all that being said, thanks so much for watching today's video.